And welcome to Down the Alley. This is PMAC.
And Ted T.S. Spirides.
And Katie.
And another week, another interview. And to no surprise, I don't know why I was surprised. I threw out a text literally half an hour ago. I don't know why I'm surprised, but the source, Mrs. PMAC's source
No days off.
is not in off-season mode, is not in mid-season form, ready to go, almost like not he or she, they were ready to go with the they were waiting for a text. I think for all week since we dropped the first interview, waiting for that text of, all right, I got my notes ready. Who are they going to ask about? And that text was sent, and the source, Katie, you saw the reply. The source is in mid-season form.
Yeah.
Nothing to add. I'm trying to pump our source here.
I don't know what you want me to add.
I will say,
you asked a simple question and they responded with research. But we always are surprised, and I always shouldn't be surprised at this point.
I will say I've been in contact with the source as well.
Okay.
I'd probably say it was like 2 weeks ago, maybe.
Okay.
And they have a lot of ideas and content for the blog, the website, for continuing the Minnesota lacrosse conversation around kind of a way too early outlook for the 2024 season, going through every team, top to bottom, who's for real, who maybe has some people coming in the pipeline, maybe surprises, maybe teams we think will be good that might not be, way ahead of me at least from the boys' perspective. So they are in mid-season form, no days off. Unbelievable the fact that they do not even get paid by us. We probably should start paying them, to be honest with you.
Well, yeah, no, maybe hopefully we get more and more subscribers, and maybe at least a dinner. I think I could guarantee that. I think we could guarantee a dinner.
Yeah, I did give them a gift at the end of the lacrosse season.
Okay.
A $50 to $75 value. So again, it wasn't it wasn't like stock options and down the alley or anything like that.
It might as well be.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I know that we have more guests coming on. At least they're confirmed guests, but that's through another person. I haven't talked to them personally, so I hope they show up. We're recording.
Yeah, we're ready to go. We're doing our pre-interview chat. We have our notes. Hopefully we don't mess up the sources. The source has done their job. Hopefully we hold up their quality of knowledge, of scouting.
Yeah, I hope so too. I'm excited about the guests coming on. I think, we teased it a little bit in the last episode, but want to give them their moment in the sun here. But I do have one thing before they come on. It's just like,
is it a rant?
I don't know if it's a rant or if it's just a thought. So, this past weekend, the college football started, right? And I think it's pretty clear. Anyone who follows college football realizes that the transfer portal is the future of college football, probably college sports in general, but for sure college football. And it got me thinking, because I've heard a handful of rumors about kids at the high school lacrosse level, specifically in lacrosse. It might happen in, I know it happens in other sports, but I'm focusing on lacrosse, of people just transferring to other programs because they feel like it, or they were open enrolling at a program because they liked a certain coach, and then that coach is gone or moved to a different program and they're just going to go somewhere else. And I know there's like rules against transferring and you have to sit out a year and this and that, but there's all these loopholes. And it like, at what point at what point do the rules not even matter if there's a million loopholes to getting around them? And I don't know. I don't even know what I'm asking, but do you know what I'm asking?
I know what you're asking, and I believe you're asking. So I led with, I know what you're asking. So now I'm asking what you're asking. Are you asking if at some point we should do what the NCAA did and just be like, open the floodgates, you can transfer, because technically we have open enrollment, right? At least in Minnesota. We're in Minnesota. So we're talking about Minnesota. We have people listening worldwide.
I think it's a district to district.
Yeah, I think each high school district, each school district can say we're either letting people do it or not.
Okay. But in general, you could theoretically go to any high school you wanted to. Yep. Not talking about sports and eligibility.
I mean, if they have open enrollment, I'm pretty sure districts could be like, we do or we don't.
Yeah, if they have open enrollment and you want to go there and you have transportation to get yourself there or have somebody get you there, you can go there. As long as, again, like Katie said, they are allowing open enrollment. When a school gets to be a certain capacity, a certain size, there's not enough teachers, there's not enough classrooms, right, they have to say, we cannot take any more students by law, by space. Yeah. But I'm specifically from the sports perspective, you look at like a Minnetonka hockey who won state tournament this year. A lot of those kids were not Minnetonka youth players, and they transferred in. Again, it's their right to do that. And again, if the rules are allowing it for it to happen, then they're not really breaking any rules, because if they moved or if they got a waiver or, whatever, I don't know what all the loopholes are. I haven't looked into it. But maybe this is a little bit in defense of private schools. Like, they get so much crap for being able to quote unquote recruit, yet a public school could essentially do it. And I think there are coaches that are doing it.
And I think also a couple things that came to mind. One, as long as, like, who knows, these ADs could just turn the other way.
Yeah, I don't know.
I feel like the rules are only as enforced as much as your AD wants to enforce them. So if AD wants to like win, I won't go like, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but if they're like, yeah, this is good for our school and our programs, it is what it is. And it's like, but then I think that is opening the floodgates to all the reasons. If there was no rule about sitting out for sports, my question would be, how many more kids would actually be moving around?
That's a great question.
At some point, I was given the choice to go to a private school in high school, and I chose not to. Yeah.
Well, that's unfair.
Well,
I didn't get that option.
Like my parents were like, they looked at me and they were like, we could go to Holy Angels if like it's that important to you to keep playing hockey and keep doing this. And I said no. And I was like, no, I see myself graduating from Jefferson with my friends and going to this high school, regardless of the rules of sitting out and whatever. But would there be that many more? The kids who are going to do it are already finding a way to do it. So if there were open walls, would there really be that many more kids going back and forth all the time? Yeah, you're going to have those kids who are going to go to 4 different high schools in 4 years and 6 different high schools in 4 years, whatever. That's on them. And that's on their parents to make sure they adjust to those things, because there's so many other things that go into transferring that it's like, would there really be that many more schools packing their rosters than schools already do?
I'm going to go with no. I'm going to take the opposite view. I'm going to take the devil's advocate, because, you've brought up the success stories, the Cinderella stories of, again, I'm not fact checking this, so don't take my word on quote, but Ted brought up Tonka. Oh, they had 17 of their 18 kids didn't go to Tonka Youth and didn't play on the Bantam AA Minnetonka team. Again, I'm making up numbers. This isn't fact. But then you hear about other cities. I believe it was a Lakeville hockey coach that got sued because he was recruiting too much. So yes, sure, there's one Cinderella story, but all the Tonka kids, how much do the OG Tonka kids hate that coach for bringing in all these people? How much do the Lakeville kids hate that coach for bringing in allegedly, all right, allegedly, this is all alleged. Don't quote me. Don't put me in the Star Tribune tomorrow. Allegedly for recruiting these kids. How much do the OG kids hate this situation? I don't know.
No, I agree. I don't know how many would actually do it. And like Katie said, the ones that want to and are seeking it are finding ways, and even as much as moving and changing addresses to do it. But I don't know if it was more like, again, I'm taking this like NCAA look of all of a sudden we decided that the transfer portal was going to be this like objective thing where kids would enter it and say, I am looking to change situations, and then coaches just go in and recruit those kids. And this all stemmed from, I heard from like 3 different sources of like kids and coaches and things of like players moving around in lacrosse of like, so-and-so is going to go here. And I'm like, what? Like now this is happening at the high school level. It was just a weird, and maybe it was isolated coincidental things. And it's really not happening that much, but it does happen in other sports for sure. But I don't know. It just,
the other point I was going to make was like the last couple of years have changed education so much. And I think there's just some different trends that like kids are starting to get the option to learn differently. So if the parents really feel like a different school is going to benefit their kid from an education perspective, just like college, if you're not adjusting to the school that you're at, there's a million factors that have anything to do with it. Maybe transferring is the best bet. Unfortunately, it gets a bad look because it's like, oh, they're just transferring for hockey or they're just transferring for lacrosse. But it's like, there really could be some reasons. So when it's like, well, then why are you kind of punishing them for sitting out in their sport if it was a legitimate reason that they actually needed to transfer schools? Because there are so many options out there. It's like now that it's kind of like the world is the oyster for kids who don't want a traditional classroom. And it's like, I mean, that just holds a whole other bag of worms we could get into. So
sure. Well, without further ado, we came in without any topic to kind of open up this podcast with. We just ranted for 20 minutes. We've got our guests in the waiting room. We're letting them in. We've got two awesome guests from the Benilde St. Margaret's 2023 state championship staff. The head coach, I believe, Anna Bowlesby, as well as I'm going to go out on a limb. I could be way off on this. Ted, is this your best friend growing up, or did I make that up?
One of my best friends growing up, Mitch Benson, assistant coach. And yeah, so a lot of memories with Mitch. It was fun to see the Benilde girls win state championship because I was pulling for him for sure.
Well, welcome both of you to Down the Alley. Thanks for coming on.
Happy to be here. Sorry, can you guys hear me? Is this weird?
Oh yeah, no, you're on loud and clear.
Great, and we're working on getting Kara, our other assistant, back on the show as well, because she's also a great communicator and great speaker, and it'll be awesome to have on.
Awesome, exciting. Yeah, hopefully she can make it on, and if she pops in, we'll let her in. Mitch, how are you doing tonight?
Doing good. Just got to meet the first grade teacher for Josie, and hopefully they're asleep upstairs, so we'll find out.
Big first day of school today, or are they starting tomorrow?
She starts Thursday.
They get to
meet the teacher for like 2 days, and then they go.
All right, right on.
First grade?
They're really milking that summer out for you. You can't get rid of them.
Hey, I still got to go to school though, so they're back in daycare. I'm back to school.
All right, right on, right on. How's the off season been? What has both of your summers and kind of off seasons look like?
Mixed, you want to go first?
Sure. Well, it's kind of my forever off season from lacrosse for now. So my off season jumps into summer and it's daddy daycare with 2 little kids at home running around, and I jump into coaching hockey for girls hockey out here in Shakopee all summer long. So from one sport to the next all the time, but Josie also started lacrosse, so I ended up coaching 8U lacrosse as well. So lots of busy sports activities around here.
No days off. No days off, it sounds like, for you.
Nope, never. Ted knows how it goes.
Ditto. It was running around with kids and being chief in charge of toting and coordinating and like, all right, where's the sitter so we can go coach. And I have a 9 and 7, and I don't know that the 9-year-old quite loves when I coach her. There's a chance I'm a little too intense. So I'm trying to make sure that like kids have fun, and they're not like going from that high level, like our characters where everybody can pass and catch. And then going to the tiny tots, we're like, we want you to come back. Ultimately, we want you to have fun. We're here to play games, but it's, she's like, you don't ever call on me. So I don't want you to coach me. Okay.
Yeah, I bet Ted could definitely add to that, coach. And going back down to girls, what was it, 8U, Ted?
Girls 8U, first time coaching girls lacrosse, and it was a riot though. It was fun, but yeah, I know the drill. You go from coaching high school to 6 and 7-year-olds. It's a different story, but yeah, got to make it fun. And we had one more join us here, Kara Peterson from the Benilde staff as well. Welcome, Kara, to Down the Alley.
Hello, happy to be here.
Thanks for joining us. So we can kind of go one coach, kind of at a time, whoever wants to start. Would love to kind of introduce. I don't think we haven't had your staff on before, so would kind of love to just allow you guys to introduce yourselves to Down the Alley Nation and kind of give yourselves a little background on yourselves and what your lacrosse experience has been up until this point.
I go. I started playing in high school. I played basketball and soccer, and I had some friends like, hey, why don't you come play lacrosse? It's easy. It's fun. It's basketball. And I said, great, I'll give it a shot. And then had the good fortune of being at Eden Prairie. And I grew up in Columbus and moved here. And that was coincided with Judy Baxter being there. So taught all of us, taught us what to do. And then I went away to school, played club, and came back, and I was working my real job, which I was not very good at. And because I needed to move around, went back to school to get a master's and teach, but she ran into my mom at the grocery and was like, hey, does Anna want to come work Winter League? Sure. And so then that's kind of how I got back into it. And it turned out to quickly be the highlight of my week. So I thought, how can I make this part of my life on a more consistent basis? Yeah, it's been there. I've been coaching ever since. So I think Karen and I were trying to figure out, I think it's my 11th year at BSM going into, and probably my 16th year overall. But anyway.
Awesome.
Are you still doing that job you said you're not very good at?
What?
Are you still doing the job you said you're not very good at?
No, it was a lot of sitting. I couldn't.
Yeah.
Didn't know I was bad at it.
Yeah. I'm sure you weren't.
I guess I'll and go next. We were just talking about this, but this is my 5th year going into Benilde. And coaching, I think it's been 8. Graduated college in 2016 and kind of bopped around a couple of places right after college where I was living at the time, and then was able to find a spot with Anna based on some connections we had, and it's been great ever since. But prior to that, picked it up freshman year of high school, same thing. Some of my hockey buddies were like, hey, you got to come out and play lacrosse, try it for fun. So decided to pick it up for fun, and I kind of ran with it. And, after playing it a couple of years, my junior year, I had to decide between hockey and college, and I decided to go college route. And I went down to St. Louis and played at Lindenwood, which ended up being a phenomenal opportunity. They made it to the Final Four for 3 years. Had some awesome teammates, was just kind of a great experience, had great college coaches. And they're honestly part of the reason that I have wanted to give back for coaching so much. They are two amazing men that I played for, and they just made it so much more than just lacrosse, right? It's about life. It's about people skills. It's about what you can bring to the rest of your journey. And so for that, a lot of what I do for coaching, I feel like comes from what I've learned from them and how they're able to relate things to things beyond just the sport. So yeah, and then a couple of years and been with Anna ever since. So rest is history.
Lindenwood, you mentioned Lindenwood. What year did you graduate? 2016?
2016, yeah.
So, I know a lot of people that have gone there. Any awesome stories that you could drop that are clean enough on maybe Aaron Wiederhoft or Garrett Brunswald for the fans?
Yeah. No, I honestly, I love to gloat about the fact that I was the OG Minnesotan to Minnesota. I was the first Minnesotan. Yep. And then I think after me on the girls' side, at least, there was a solid one Minnesota recruit every year for a good, I don't know, 6-7 years.
That's good.
A lot of them from Stillwater. And I remember the first guy, Davey Corzala, good friend of mine, he went and did well at Lindenwood as well. So yeah, a lot of those Lindenwood guys that are from here, good friends of ours. And my husband also played at Lindenwood and moved back here with me. So we have a good group of people that we know.
Yeah, there's some beauties that have gone there.
Yeah, it was good. And I feel like a lot of programs, the teams are very close. So it was fun to have a lot of those guys and the girls. And
where'd you grow up here?
I went to Champlin High School.
No, sure.
Yeah. Yep. So Rebels.
Yeah. I wouldn't have known that. So good call.
Mitch, your turn.
Well,
yeah, Mitch.
Bringing me to girls lacrosse is a little different route than kind of the route that they took.
You grew up playing girls lacrosse in high school.
Only with you, Katie. No. I played lacrosse with Teddy back in 7th and 8th grade out at Hopkins field or whatever. And then my brother was the captain of the track team, so I did track through high school. So I didn't even do lacrosse through high school. Tried a year of club lacrosse in college because I had some buddies that went there and they tried to get me out there just with the stick skills from hockey. And then got hurt, so I kind of gave up on that. And then when I came back from college, I ended up coaching girls hockey in Apple Valley. And a bunch of those girls were on the lacrosse team and they needed a coach. So I met with the coach that was there then, Alex Ross. And she was like, yeah, I'll take you on my staff. You can be my varsity assistant. And I was like, I don't know the rules to girls lacrosse right now. She was like, that's fine. I'll teach you. I'm like, all right, sure. Hop on and coached in Apple Valley for, I don't even know, 10 years, something like that for girls lacrosse. And then Alex left. I took over there for a year and then kind of didn't really know. Told him I couldn't be the head coach anymore with 2 little kids and not living that close to Apple Valley. And so they were going to hire on somebody else. And Anna gave me a call out of the blue because she's also friends with Ross. And I kind of made the leap over to Benilde and joined her staff over there and ran through this year. And now I'm going to step away to be with the little ones because they're getting way too busy with sports. So that's kind of my girls lacrosse coaching journey.
So you just hop on wagons, win the championship, and then call it a day.
Yeah, I like to call it the Ross. I said at the end, I said, I'm calling it a Ross. Win it and go out on top. So that's what she did back in Apple Valley. And then I'm doing it at Benilde now. So.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. Coach Kevin, who was on our last our last episode with Lakeville North. This was his first year coaching, wins the state championship. I'm like, dude, just retire, man. Just call it a career. You're 1 for 1. No, that's awesome. So yeah, would love to kind of dive in now, got to know each of you. Would love to learn about the history of, Benilde, like kind of looking back before we talk about this year. I think having coaches on that have been on, the staff for multiple years, this would be awesome to hear. You hear everything about the boys program. It's been boys at Benilde, but as you look back, it's been a steady rise. As you look at the history of the girls, I feel like, you were 500 and then you started winning a couple more and then a couple more. And, the last couple of years, you've only, I don't know, lost 5 games in the last like 2 years, if that. So, would love to hear kind of the history. I didn't even realize you guys have been on the staff for this long. So yeah, we'd just love to kind of hear the history and, how it's come to be, kind of behind the scenes under the radar, the quietest, 17-2 team of all time, maybe last year.
Probably.
Let you take it from the beginning.
Okay, so I started in 2013, got hired 2012 because I was JV at Eden Prairie, learned how to plan practices, learned how to make sure subbing was coordinated, learned all kind of the ins and outs and the behind the scenes and nobody talks about, the not fun stuff. Learned it there and then got a
like
call.
What? Like scheduling the buses,
right?
Scheduling the field, the stuff that's not coaching.
Right. The tedious things like collecting practice jerseys, chasing kids down. Hey, making sure you take a trash bag with you on the bus to your last game, helping them like just make sure you bring all their clothes to change into, ladies. This is easier if I just take everything and like all the little stuff. And Beth and Judy were, fantastic in doing that. So it was really fun to learn how they're coaching, different approaches, stat taking, and how vital that, like just the little stuff that's fun. So went to BSM. They had a bunch of kids, very strong group of seniors that were very dedicated. And Bailey, fourth year, that connected Kara and I together, but she had played at George Washington and like very driven. We ended up just giving them a system and they were great and they kind of flew with it. And then pet athletes, we'd always go to other games. Hey, Bailey, you got any other hockey girls on your team that maybe would want to play lacrosse? And just making sure we go and support them. And we still do that to various soccer, hockey, tennis, wherever the girls play, making sure we see them in their typically primary sport. We had a couple years where we graduated all of our lacrosse kids, and it was a lot of second and third sport years. And then I would say 2017, 2018, we started to get some more momentum about, okay, we really like lacrosse. We really like what we're doing. This is a fun sport. Practices are for the most part fun, like they're useful, and getting going. And COVID, I would say going into COVID, we had a bunch of 22s that probably 3 or 4 that at some point before then realized, hey, maybe soccer isn't our route or another sport. And they were like, hey, let's see how good we can be at lacrosse. And that was contagious. And that was really kind of the spearhead to everything. And that was like the Tilly Wolfs, the Riley Weedmans, the Fiona Lynch's, like very unsung hero kids who just figured out what to do and had a good time. And then they brought all their other little friends. So, and then it's just kind of been going from there. But yeah, and then it's after COVID, we're like, all right, well, we graduated maybe 4 kids that would have been that year, came back, and we're like, oh, who even knows what team we're going to have? And then it turned out we were solid and they're receptive and super coachable, and it's kind of gone from there. What do you guys think?
Yeah. Out of COVID, I think 21, we had quite a few freshmen that ended up being contributors, I think, which was kind of a big deal. I think that's our now 24 class. So I think just having people like Anna said that were more lacrosse as their first sport, right? We've always worked with multi-sport athletes. We love our multi-sport athletes. We get a lot of hockey kids. We love, the basketball, the soccer, we have everybody, right? But I think as just lacrosse in general is picking up across the state, people are becoming more lacrosse first, right? And then you get those kids that are playing, you know, throughout all the months of the year, and not just picking up their stick come April 1st, right? And so I think that has slowly picked up, and that's probably with a lot of programs, right? And just kind of where the sport is taking us right now in Minnesota. But it's been kind of fun to see a lot of the lacrosse first kids, and I think just sheer numbers of that growing, I think has been what's contributed to our success, I think, the last few years too.
You know, I come from the public school side of things. You know, you got your youth programs. You know, the goal is get them at 12, and then you know, by the time they're in ninth grade, they're sweet, and you've worked with them for 3 years already. You know, at a private school, typically that's not the case. Maybe you have a couple of middle school kids. I know Benilde has a middle school. I assume that's probably not the case most of the time. You know, when they're coming in at ninth grade, I assume that's when most are coming in. You know, what's the goal? Like, how do you develop them up so quick? You know, what's the plan as a staff? You know, development plan. You know, how are you working with them? It sounds like you had contributors as freshmen. Maybe maybe part of that's getting more lacrosse first kids, but is it not just that? I assume it's not just that. You know, what else are you doing? You know, what's the secret sauce?
I mean, that's a hard question. I think that is just kind of what the difference is between not having those youth programs too, is that, you know, you get these kids that you don't always see coming up, right? And it can really be a difference maker depending on whether you have, you know, we don't really expect kids coming in, you know, and most of the time we don't really hear about it until kind of right before season. So it's just kind of, most of the time it kind of is a little bit of a surprise come tryouts, and it's, you know, who's new this year? Do we have any new faces? Are there, you know, so it's less expecting than you think, right? Because normally you know who all is coming in, but you know, and then you just kind of work through it. We just kind of work through it, I guess. You know, the kids just, they want to play together. So,
And I think our bigger girls have done a good job of bringing in the younger crew. Hey, come play lacrosse. We're right after school. We're pretty easy to get to. The bus takes you. Like, that's a big selling point for parents. Oh, the bus will take you everywhere. And I think they've done a good job of making sure it's fun. And now we have, hey, all their friends come because it's a fun place to be. We try to make it like, hey, we value what you're doing, we value your time. Here's our practices. Typically they're after school. But our athletic director in the past has been very helpful about scheduling when we can have staffing. So ideally it's after school. Sometimes it's not always the case. But Mitch, I don't know, like, what do you think?
I think every year there's been 1, 2, or 3 girls that come out during like tryouts, and they haven't really picked up a stick, or they haven't played much lacrosse. They just played with their friends. They're out there with their friends. But we picked out the athletes. Like, they have the footwork, they have some of that stuff, and we can teach them the hands, right? You can kind of get them on the wall. You can get them to do different things, and the hands kind of come. And then we work them in slow. Like, they get to hang out with the group. They get to be with their friends. They get to see the game at a fast pace, kind of on the sidelines, learning a bunch of different systems and a bunch of different skills. And then partway through the season, they seem like they're ready, and some of them take a jump. Some of them don't, but most of them are taking that jump, right? There's been a few of them that have made it, and they've been our starters going into like section games that we're not starting in the beginning of the year. So just developing them with their athletic skills from different sports, I think has been kind of key and kind of a strength of the staff in general to teach them those skills.
Oh, what's our favorite line? Like, if you do it in your other sport and it's right, it's probably right here. So trust your instincts and you'll learn, like, you'll figure it out, but trust your
I
instincts.
kind of love that because, like, sometimes there's like youth players that are like insane. Like, I coach the 10Us too. And like I've got my eyes on them, and I'm like, they could move, they could quit. And I mean, like, that can happen at 12U and that can happen at 14U. Like, you can have the best U14A player and they might choose a different high school in our case or whatever, but like in the youth program that you're associated with, like they could go to a private school, or they could just flat out like not play lacrosse anymore by the time they're actually getting to high school, and like spring of freshman year, it could be game over for them, which is, we don't want that, but it's like, it's kind of that like naive perspective going into tryouts might be kind of bliss at the same time, because then your expectations for someone like, we've seen you all through youth, like what happened, and it's like, and then you feel like so let down, when really it's like they're just kids. You got to remember that they could have a bad day too, of course, so I kind of love that it's just like, it kind of, you're going in to try out super, not blind, but like you're not having this core group that you've worked with. It's like it's anyone's game, and that really kind of each year is true. Then you probably get to just clean the slate and be like, we don't know who's coming until who shows up. And I kind of love that mentality.
I was kind of hoping that it was the process was sending Mitch in camouflage poncho or something out to youth tournaments in the summer and scouting 8U girls. But it sounds like you actually just find good athletes and coach them up, and it's much more straightforward. And it's like,
listeners are going to be pissed.
yeah, no, I know. There's nothing they can do about
That's
it.
the secret. That's Vanille's
What we
secret, is
did
actually
in-
coaching kids.
Coach
No,
the fundamentals, get them
Yeah.
down.
I do think it's funny how far lacrosse has come in 15 years or whatever. It's still a lot of what can you do. Okay, you might have your 4 or 5 really good lacrosse players that play year round, but what can you do with the 6, 7, 8 athletes that aren't lacrosse players, and how can you make them valuable in a role on your team? And I mean, that's the Prior Lake model with PMAC. I know we have a lot of conversations. We do that at Farmington because same thing. We don't have 15 lacrosse only kids. So it is like working with athletes. And I appreciate that as well. And obviously it's working because, like PMAC said, the quietest 16-2 or 17-2 team. I just have to come out and say, like, when you're in the media, we call ourselves in the media, you have to eat your words a lot. And like, I just don't even know how it was like all of a sudden it was like we completely missed Benilde, and maybe that was to your advantage because you didn't hear the noise. You just stuck to the plan. But
that's assuming they listened to us.
Well, yeah, I mean,
huge assumption there. Huge assumption there, Ted.
Anybody of our
huge assumption.
If they listen, we double our listeners.
Yeah, no, but yeah, it was a big assumption, but it's I do want to just say before we get into the year and what was, congratulations on a state championship. Not easy to do, as the year before fell a little bit short, heartbreaker, and got it done this year. So congratulations.
Thanks. So
Yeah, thank you. I know we're still on a high sometimes. Anna will text me and be like, can you believe we won?
Sorry, Mitch, I'll throw you on those texts next time. Just blow up your phone.
Yeah, that's awkward, Mitch.
That's fine. I've always left one out with these two.
One thing I noticed before we talk about this year, one thing I noticed during our conversation, I heard the word fun and fun practices and fun this and fun that. Elaborate on that. Like what behind the scenes, what's going on between the lines, outside the lines, on the bus, what maybe a funny moment, what's going on that's fun. I'm hearing a lot of fun.
I think the last few years too, we've really kind of had a good competitive practice, right? Like the kind of vibes that you get with, even like a good college team, right? Where you work hard, play hard. We go out there and they know that, at any point, if you're talking while we're talking, like that's not cool, right? Like the girls are extremely respectful. But we go out there, and when we're when we're playing sevens at the end, or if we're playing, you know, competitive games, we let the girls laugh and have fun and push each other over. And, you know, we want them to be extremely competitive with each other, but in the most fun way, because we're all getting better. But I think we have a good vibe at practices. And sometimes we like to do fun things on like Saturday mornings. Sometimes we'll throw in like a kickball practice or something. Anna's always done that. Or Anna will bring donuts or bagels on a Saturday morning. So
Mitch always did good stuff with the goalies. Like that can get a long, those 2.5 hour practices when you have to do installs, and we're trying to figure out what our life is on a daily basis. And Mitch is doing the Lord's work. Making sure they're doing blaze pods, making sure they're doing, I don't know, things with footballs and tennis balls, and really like we're really going to miss that from next year. Just everything that you were doing, and making sure, hey, here's what we did in PE. Here's a good gym class drill or gym class like relay race. Like I still am trying to figure out when we can do that tic-tac-toe thing that you do with your middle schoolers.
Oh yeah. It's like it's a fun little relay kind of conditioning, but you're playing the simplest game of all time, tic-tac-toe, but you only get your 3 like flags to put down. So each team goes, but once they're all out there, you have to move one. So then you have to think on the fly and then run back and forth, and they get into it and they get crazy and they get super competitive, and it's super fun. But yeah, just try and switch it up. Like we've done ultimate lacrosse and stuff like that. Games that aren't even lacrosse really, but it just gives them like an outlet, but they're still, you know, being active, being with each other. I think they just form a good, close relationship.
I mean, that's a nugget right there, though, for sure, is that teaching kids to compete and enjoy competing. I think, you know, as coaches, we have it, right? Like we wouldn't still be coaching if we didn't have a little bit of that, of like just wanting to win all the time. And that's why we stay in it for, you know, it's part of it. Maybe I'm weird. I don't know. But those other games that are not lacrosse, they're just competing, and then it just becomes compete. And then they translate that into lacrosse. And I kind of feel like that's 90% of the battle, honestly, is just wanting to win. Like just go out and actually want it.
I'm hearing less film, more kickball and relay races. Is that what I'm hearing?
We have a lot. I wouldn't subtract from our film. We do watch a lot of film. But
You're like, yeah. Just have all your teams play kickball and never do film. That's how you guys become state champions. And then meanwhile, they'll just like walk into state and be like, yeah, that's all we do is kickball. And no film. We never watch film.
No, it's good. We usually try to do, I think towards the end, we will play for points, which has been good, but sometimes it's kicked us in the butt a couple of times, because we will have girls walking out of their cars, like still arguing about, you know, you guys shouldn't have gotten a point for that clear. You didn't make it through the 50. And so, I mean, to be honest, it's a blessing and a curse with having competitiveness, right? Like you'd rather be able to dial them down than have to, you know, push them to try to be more competitive. So, you know,
Retweet
and
that
just like, yeah, it's good.
It's just finding that balance though, right? We do lots of competitive days in a row, lots of film, and then it's like you can kind of feel that the girls kind of need that release or need like a day of something different, whether it's you just give them a day off, like, hey, don't show up tomorrow, there's no practice. And they're like, wait, what are we supposed to do? And then they go out and plan their own like outing together. Or like they show up the next day and you're like, all right, put your sticks down, we're playing kickball today. And they're like, wait, what, really? All right, who's making teams? And then we just hop into that. Just kind of gives them a little bit of a different thing and not take it so serious. It's still high school sport. It's still supposed to be super fun. So why not?
No, I love that. I love all that. Thanks for giving us, you know, some of that behind the scenes action. Would love to kind of dive into, you know, more of the near history. We kind of looked way back. You know, as I look back to 2022 to set up 2023, you know, I'm noticing, you know, maybe one common theme, and that theme is the Chanhassen Storm. You know, I look back a couple of nail biting wins in 2022 that and then maybe a tough loss against Chan. I guess I'm wondering, does that loss along with another one in the regular season against Chan, is that something that set up that eventual run in 2023?
Anna, you want to take that?
I would say the Chan team was a lot didn't like they graduated and they were so strong, and they graduated their entire midfield. So it was hard to, like, we knew the pieces coming back. We knew they had some strong things. We knew they were going to be organized, but there was also a large question mark of what else are they who's going to fill in where? How do we counter that? What do we think? It was I know I'm looking back at our scorebook from 2023. I dug that out for 2022. No, they were good. We've always had close games with them. And my good Rachel
Lax Hub too, and you can just like type.
Yeah, I'm sorry. This is according to Lax Hub. I don't pre-send the questions. I wrote these like down as we went. I didn't mean, I was trying to throw a layup. I was trying to throw a layup. I'm sorry. I didn't mean for the hard questions this evening.
It's always been hard for us too, because it's a big conference game too, right? Like usually that's kind of been a hard game for us in years past. And so I think that always, even when it becomes, a game that you want to win, it's the mental battle too, right? Like these are teenagers, like we had lost to Chan. So it becomes a mental battle and kind of a mental, thing for them. So
yeah,
Chan,
and that's kind of what I was trying to like kind of get at, them beating you twice in 2022, right in the regular season, then in state, and then again in 2023 in the regular season. Again, how great did that, was it like when you ran into them again at state in 2023? Was it like, here we go again? What was the vibe kind of going into that one again?
I think we were really excited for the matchup. We knew
extremely excited.
The previous game, like, oh, well, the Red Knights were going through some things. So that was, Mitch, I think that was when we had a lot of different personnel in different places. And we were looking forward to playing them again. And I think after that game and the South game, a couple of games before, really made us realize, like, hey, yes, you guys can play lacrosse and we like that you guys can do this, but your default offense is a muddle and that's just not gonna work. So we're gonna try, we can't just hand the ball to Julia and watch and see what she does and say like, oh, good luck, like cross fingers, have fun. So we really start, we want to, here's a framework, here's some plays. And I think that those two games really hammered in the fact that you all are capable and you all need to be able to do stuff, and you can make adjustments on your own, ladies, and you can go be someone. It doesn't need to always be one person in particular. And I think those were big learning points for us this year.
Yeah, I think it was hard because when we started the season, we had some returners. We had lost a few, like Tilly had a ton of goals from 2022. And then when we started 2023, we kind of just gave them the creativity. I don't think we had a single play really, Anna, until Lakeville South. But it was, we wanted them to be creative because we had some good returners, and we didn't want to have plays that just hindered them and said, okay, cut for so-and-so, and then this is the one play you have. And we kind of worked on progressions and just kind of like sets more than plays to kind of get them in the right spots and to keep it moving. And I think the patience of that, when we installed that, I think was kind of a big key to our successes in general. But that Chan and Lakeville South loss, I think, was kind of where we decided to kind of give them some extra things to work on, because the creativity we had seen in other games that were, wins, I think they were scared to do those same things in a tougher matchup, and therefore they relied on some other teammates. And when in reality, we needed every single person on that field to be a part of it. So I think, again, I would rather have gone through our struggles mid-season and, you know, kind of work on them through that way. And I think it kind of worked in our favor. So.
Yeah, no, I love losing in April, May. You know, those are great times to lose. And figure some of those things out, like you said. You know, what were, you know, you mentioned Chan. We started speaking a little bit about Lakeville South. You know, going into that Lakeville South game, probably no one picked you. I assume we didn't pick you. You know, what were some of the focuses? You know, it sounds like getting more people involved. That's awesome. Love to hear that. You know, how were you able to do that? And what are some of those focuses to beat, you know, the big bad Cougars?
I
like
think
their matchup.
Yeah, the regular season game, I think we were pretty vocal about this with the girls too. We said, hey, listen, and it doesn't matter what the score is for this game. I said, we're gonna have to figure out by the end of this game how to beat them if we want to go and win a state title, which, you know, that's the goal every year, right? And we told the girls, hey, if you want to go and win, we're gonna have to beat this team at the end of the year. So it doesn't matter what the score is this year. What matters is finding a way to beat this specific team, right? Because you have different strategies against different teams. So I think that's kind of the way we looked at it. Was it doesn't matter we were down quite a bit in the beginning. What matters was, okay, let's take the second half of the game and figure out a way to beat them. Was it going to be, you know, however we moved the ball, or was it, you know, a strategy on defense through between the 30s? So I think that was kind of the outlook was, you know, this is definitely a team that we're going to see a second time, if we're lucky enough to. So let's just figure out a way to beat them no matter what the score is.
Did you have anything to add? I know you were kind of going to, no?
Who, Mitch? Me?
I thought you were going early. Yeah, sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, like, Mitch, what did you like? He did a lot of the defense stuff, did a lot of goalie stuff. Was always key on like, here's what they're doing, and would focus on that and make sure the goalies were always like, here's what the plan is, and keeping everybody in a level communicative state and helpful. And I think we had a lot, again, different personnel, different places for a variety of games, and like figured out a good combo by the end of the season.
Yeah. We were down like 6 or 7 starters, I think, was mid-season that we were, no, I don't know. We were down, we caught the injury bug mid-season, and I think it was kind of trying to figure out, you know, how we can be successful with people who haven't been playing together the first few games of the season, right? Every game it felt like someone was going down, and they just kept piling up. And so it was, okay, here's, you know, another person that we're going to add into the mix, and making sure they knew all of, you know, our different defenses or all of these different things. So it was not only having hard matchups, but it was having hard matchups with a completely new team every game for about, I don't know, whatever the span was. Yeah, it was bad. And then, yeah. And then we started to add them back into the lineup towards the end of the year, but that's just the point. I think it was good. It was good for the girls. We talked about how hard it was mid-season, just mentally on them. You know, you have girls that are going out, and it's not necessarily, I mean, we did have an ACL, but it wasn't necessarily everyone was at season ending. It was, you know, things that they had to take care of, but it's just hard to see those girls go. And so mentally, I think on these girls, you're like, when is she going to be back? When is she going to be back? And you have, you know, 17-year-olds trying to explain to their friends, okay, well, doctor says I still have to be out another couple of weeks. And then it's like, you know, so it's a hard dynamic to manage. And everyone goes through it, right? Injuries are common through every sport and every team and everything. But we were down bad for a bit mid-season, and it was pretty tough. But again, I think it kind of worked.
Yeah, was the game plan then like a completely different game plan for the second time you played them, because it was like a completely different team you had on the field? So you literally beat them 2 times because like
Right.
the team that played them in the season wasn't the team that played them probably from like your perspective at the end of the year.
I
Right.
think the game
We
plan.
were down.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was
Okay,
just-
we were down quite a few, but and even I think the hardest part is it was a close game, and then Julia had carded out with maybe 10 or so minutes left in the game. And I think just the mental part of losing someone who scores goals for your team, I think we have plenty of other people on that were playing that were capable of scoring, but I think it was the mental battle of, oh no, right? In a big game. And at that time, that would have been that we hadn't lost yet at that point for the Chanhassen game. And so, and we ended up not scoring again after she had left the game. But I think it was just the mental battle again. That Chanhassen game was a big mental battle for the girls. I don't even think the team scored in the second half. I think Maggie scored with like 30 seconds into the second half.
Pull the book.
Our team
Pull
never.
the book.
Yeah.
I-
What is it, Anna?
We had 2. We didn't score from 11:27 on.
Yeah, but I'm glad the book got pulled out.
Oh
Probably never got put away.
It's a
Ted,
kid.
I know you've unmuted. The floor is yours. What do you have for the people?
I don't think the joke will land as good now, but I was gonna say I think the game plan in the state semis was let's let Lakeville South take a lead with like 10 seconds left, and then we'll score 2 quick ones at the end with no time left, and just give everybody's blood pressure a run for its money. And then there actually is no more time for them to score again. So that game deserves an award for game of the year. Unbelievable. I mean, all the games were good, but I mean, that was the shot heard around the world. I mean, I was getting text messages. I was texting Katie. I'm like, I don't believe what I'm seeing. But yeah, I mean, hell of a job. It's so cool to see, the 2 games you lose in the regular season, you get redemption when it counts at the end of the year. That's just such a great story.
And then it doesn't get any easier. You have another 1-goal game against the Hornets. Another team. Interested on your thoughts. Different matchups, different style of play. When I look at Lakeville South, they've got 2 starting goalies. They've got 10 starting middies. They've got just the depth.
I think
not
the
that
source called them NCAA Division II at one
Yeah,
point.
yes, they did. The source did call them that. Not saying Edina doesn't have depth, but they definitely have like a couple of just absolute studs. And I'm sure they have depth too, but was the matchup different? Was the game different? Or at this point of the year, every game is just crazy, especially when it's a 1-goal game. What are the memories from the final dance?
I mean, definitely different for both games. Lakeville South, we love good face guard. I don't think we're giving any secrets away, Anna, when we say that. I think everyone who knows that. But I mean, both of those teams, they're very fast teams, especially in the midfield, especially between the 30s and getting up the field. So I think that was probably a common strategy between both, was making sure to stop the fast break. Because if you stop that, then you have, a better chance of getting into settled defense and whatnot. So I think that was probably a common theme. But other than that, I think it's letting the girls know, whether it's matchups or, forcing, certain players to do not the things they're good at, right? Getting those players who are going to get points and get goals, get them out of their comfort zone. I think are probably the general themes. What else do you have to add, Anna, Mitch?
Mitch, you go and then I'll go.
I mean, I think you kind of killed it right there. It was just slowing them down to kind of make it more of a settled game than kind of a run and gun. We didn't want to get into that too much. We don't want to let them get into that more so. But then I think going through it in the season, that close game with Chan and like some other close ones that we had that were closer than we thought they were going to be, but battling through it. I mean, in those state games, our girls were pretty composed, and we'd be down a goal or two and they're like, that's fine. We got this much time left. Like we're still in this. Like there's plenty of time. We're going to keep fighting. We're going to keep working. We're going to go to the end, and last goal wins. So I'll take it, so they just never gave up. Like when they come into huddles, it didn't matter if we were down by 2 or if we were up by 1 or whatever. They just knew that they had to work to the end, and they had each other's backs, and they were ready to go do whatever it took to get the win.
Yeah, I think they'd come to those little timeouts or what, I don't know if it was a water break, who knows? They'd be like, we are still in this. Like, we are definitely still in this. This is our game. Like, we still have a lot to do. But yeah, they play super different. It was, I think we were on the bus ride home after Edina. It's like, were you guys frazzled in that game? It's like, we're making mistakes with the ball that we haven't made in years. Like, oh, Julia and Maggie, or pick somebody like, oh, I haven't seen you sail a ball over someone's head and ever. Like, just things that they were like, yeah, we were really nervous. I was like, okay, well, that's probably on us. Like, we maybe perhaps could have done a few things differently as a coaching staff. And like, upon reflection, we'll have to figure that out. But they were like, it was still the first time. Like, as much as we tried to be like, hey, it's another game. It is a big deal, but you guys are certainly capable, and like giving them all the like all the warm fuzzies and building them up and telling them what we can control. I think that's still the moment gets big.
Yeah, you don't want to like overhype it for sure, but when you get in the moment, like it's like crazy. Like it's a feeling and an experience that, only if you're in it you understand. And same type of deal. I think we failed the most clears in the last 2 years. We failed the most clears in the state championship game. We just sailed the ball out of bounds just over and over again. It's like, what are we doing here? So yeah, no, that's funny that you say that, because it's like you don't want to overhype it, but they're just so amped up too,
Yeah, they're high schoolers.
And to sell those stands, yeah, it's so many people in the stands, and they're loud, and it really does mess with you. It's a big deal.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Both games were different. I think Lakeville South in the semis, I think we had jumped up to a pretty big lead. I think we were like 6-2 at one point, and it was pretty opposite for Edina. We were down 3-rip real quick, and we had a few opportunities even after 3-rip to get some goals, and we just had like 2 or 3 turnovers straight right after that. So I think I remember talking to a couple of the girls after that too, and the mentality was they were going to get the first goal, and we were going to be in the game, and we knew we were going to be competing. It was that fight to get the first goal and to just get over that original hump of like, okay, we got down a few goals. When are we going to get this? And I think it almost worked opposite for them. Trying to get that first goal so bad was where they were making some mistakes, usually because they were forcing some things instead of having that patience right away. But I think once we had a couple, and we started rolling, I think they were able to kind of get their composure back a little bit.
Yeah. We were a pretty selfless team overall. And I think when they were trying to set each other up almost too selflessly, then they started playing just like Kara said, like not our game necessarily. But no, I think playing Chan is always a big game, big conference rival. We haven't beat them in the regular season in a million years. But I mean, so the girls get up for it. So that's a big mental hurdle. I'm glad we had that early on. Sorry.
No, awesome. Thanks for the breakdowns. Thanks for the behind the scenes. You're starting to mention players, and as I look through this roster, as I look through the stats, feel free to shout out. I have the sources notes here. It's paragraphs of players, of notes, of it's just studs up and down the lineup here. I feel like your window is just it just opened, and it's not closing anytime soon. I think maybe one question mark going into the next season would be goaltending. I know the goalie had a heck of a career. Feel free to do the deep dive on that. But I'll let you talk about the players. Who cares what I think? There's commits, there's players that are gonna commit 100+ point seasons. What do you think of the staff? What do you think, or the roster? And what do you think of the window just starting to open? And are you guys going to be going on a run here? I threw a lot out. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I just go.
Mitch, let's start with goalies first. Do you want to start with goalies? I mean, you've coached Brooke almost her entire career. Like she started in 7th grade, which is wild. And then Mitch came in and was able to really kind of help her hone in on some things, but you're with her a lot more, Mitch.
Yeah, she's gonna be a big loss. A lot of what like this last season was though wasn't necessarily like skill work. It was a lot of like the maturity of being the leader on the defense, being able to call things out, being able to communicate kind of where she needs slides to come from, what she's seeing, and then really stepping up, being more of like a quarterback on like the clears versus having like a go-to one spot to clear to. She was able to kind of read the field and really got good at like leading passes, so just those progressions were like in the last year. She had the skill before. She's always been good. She always laughs when I bring out a football and tennis balls and stuff and whatever, but the maturity aspect of that and being able to like be the leader out there was her biggest step, I think, in the last year or so. Coming up, there's some skill. They're younger goalies, but they do have some skill. But now it's just for them, it's just gonna be gaining confidence to take over that role. Like that's a big role to take over from somebody who had it for 6 years straight through, and now it's somebody else's turn. So it'll be a little bit mental in that aspect. But if they can develop that confidence, and they know they have a good team out in front of them, so I don't know. I'm excited to see what Maddie can do with it. So
and we have a backup, or our backup has been with practicing varsity for a couple years, and so she sees shots and she knows what has to happen. I don't think the defense is going to be anything super new to her, but it's still like Mitch said, being in those shoes now, and now you're in charge. Now you're that quarterback. I think it's hard for anybody. And I'm sure she'll take to it. But anyway, so do we want to go defense up? I don't know. What do you guys think? Soccer, is that it? We returning a lot on D. We lost our one, Izzy, the ACL against Wayzata, which was devastating. But she was really our only senior on D. We'll be returning a bunch of seniors now, and we'll have one sophomore one junior and 3 probably seniors. But we feel pretty strongly about them. They're athletic. They have fun with it. They want to get better. They talk a lot. They're now confident, which is, as you all know, goes in spades, takes you way farther than all that self-doubt does. Middies, we have a lot coming back. Sometimes.
Maddie.
Yep.
Have to.
Got a lot of points coming back.
We have a lot of points coming back. Midfield, I think we got creative, or Kara helped us figure out the offensive mid and working that life. And I think getting that depth will be helpful, because it is hard. Not every kid can go play midfield both ways. They don't grow on trees.
Yeah. We had to get creative, especially when we were down some kids. And we last year in 2022, we had like a good solid 4 midfielders, and 3 of them were seniors. And our one returning midfielder was ACL last summer. So she didn't even start practicing until sections. So we had to really get creative and move, attackers to mid and D to mid, or work with girls who hadn't played varsity midfield last year. So we got creative with O-mid and D-mid, girls who can run mid shifts, but maybe not for the entire game. And I think that did help us a little bit. It got a little bit confusing. Maybe we had a couple offsides calls that we wish we would have taken back a little bit, but you had to work with what you were doing, you know, because playing midfield in that heat is no joke. So, you know, getting creative and doing what we could do.
As I flash back, I think there was a stretch where we had one of our ninth graders, Katie, who did a great job. We're like, you didn't come off the field for 8 games ever. Like we couldn't. So then by the time the state tournament rolls around, she's like, oh, this is nothing. Like I can absolutely do this. Oh, I have a sub. Amazing. Like she had confidence, like all those other kids were able to build confidence, but we absolutely were like, this is your specific role. This is what we need to do.
I think
And
that's
they
the
figured it out.
biggest. That's the biggest thing about girls lacrosse that blows my mind is the middies staying on for the whole game is more of a norm than like it's not like a crazy thought. Like some of the middies just stay out there the whole time. And I'm like, I boys are on for like 45 seconds tops sometimes. And they're on, they're off, they're playing OMID, and then they're off. You know, is that something that's starting more on the girls' side, or is we're just gonna play the whole game? Is that gonna stick around, do you think?
Who knows? I mean, it kind of depends on the year, I guess, and kind of what we're looking with and what the games are. But I mean, that was kind of the running joke at the end of the year was some of our players would come off and they'd be like, a sub? I haven't seen a sub in so long. So that's been kind of the funny thing. But yeah.
I think the OMID demon thing is a personnel. If you're lucky enough to have the depth, that's great. I would say I'd be shocked if a lot of schools have that ability to get creative and have fun with that and be able to sub and have 2 shifts, like or 2 lines of middies. Like that's really hard.
I would love to see it, but I agree that I don't think Minnesota has like the depth in like even like the coaching to like know how to work it. So like you guys are lucky enough to like have experience with that to like try it. But I would love to see that more in girls lacrosse because like you said, a 2-way mid is like few and far between of someone who can actually do it. So to like train them that, but I think it's more of like how to sub that and how does it work in the game and another component you need to teach. That I think sometimes it's more of like all that other stuff than, and like you said, you got to be willing, then you got to have 2 people that fill the role with one. And that's sometimes hard to do too. A lot of factors.
And it's still, we had some offsides calls and it was, we tried to be simple with, if we win the draw, so-and-so is on defense or, trying to minimize, if someone's on the offensive side of the circle, we don't want them being that one person going to play D when the 2 other circle are going to stay up. So,
and then they sit and stare at you and you're like, someone's got to go. We're playing man down right now. And then all of a sudden you're looking at all your players and you're like, why are you standing next to me? And it's more of like, like now we've waited. The fast break is so important, especially against an Edina, especially against those top teams. And all of a sudden now we're like, wow, we're playing man down and they just got a fast break because you guys all just like looked and stared at each other. Yeah.
Like that's
a lot of factors.
Vision.
Yeah. And they shouting from the 30, like, am I going? And it's like, it's just somebody go.
So if you've listened, I don't know if you guys listen or not, but we like to finish with one last question. What is your alley? Just to give kind of like the listeners, a little bit more about you as a person. This could be something you're passionate about today. This week, this month, maybe it's a lifelong thing. But would love to close out the interview, the podcast with, each of your alleys. You can kind of take it. It could be a lacrosse, personal, any direction you want to take it. Feel free.
Pickleball. I've been loving pickleball. It's been great. I love pickleball.
Me and my brother play sometimes. It's a good time. Great time.
Addicting. Super addicting.
Do you get pissed off or do you guys just play friendlies?
No, my husband and I both play, and it was like there was a very rough patch of being partners together where we would blame everything on each other, but we've kind of gotten to a good spot now. But no, it's super fun, and we've met a lot of new friends through, playing indoors, and there's a bunch of new places opening up too, which is super cool. So, but yeah, super addicting, and I'm addicted. So
Katie, sounds like we shouldn't play together. I think that just
Yeah.
confirmed it. So, yeah, I'll
Well,
just
you
continue
bought
to
us
play with my
tennis
brother.
rackets that we've
Freaking-
never used.
Yeah,
So-
silent home.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm that agile.
You want to go, Mitch? I can go. Okay. I forgot to talk about our attackers. They're great. I just want to give a big plug for them. They're awesome. They all come back. We're very excited for them. Obviously, I think their stats speak for themselves. I think we all know them. Should I say them aloud? I don't.
Is Maggie
Go ahead.
That's
Go
what
ahead.
the DTA Nation wants to know.
Okay, Maggie Graychak having with 1 million goals and 1 million assists, really figured out that low attack role. Julia obviously is real hard to stop. And I think the girls see that everybody works hard. And you don't get stick skills by putting your stick under your bed and hoping for the best. Who else? Oh, and Carson and Charlize and June, and I know I'm missing somebody. We have a lot of
Maddie,
Maddie,
for
Collins.
Maddie coming back. Yeah, she was great.
Lauren
Um,
Hills as well as a senior.
Yeah, well, we have an army of
The
seniors.
big girl.
And the other thing maybe gets lost because she's also extremely talented offensively, but Julia Evans, 131 draw controls. So you're going to have the ball the whole game too. So watch out. It's going to be, are they going to be the electric factory of girls across this upcoming spring? Because it sounds like the potent offense, they get the draws, the defense coming back too. So
Yeah, they check all the boxes, really.
We got
That-
our
yeah,
I'll leave it
girls,
to
our
us
basketball
to
girls.
completely forget about it. So to overlook you guys.
Thanks, appreciate
Not
it.
this year. Not this year. We'll come out and say too early to tell. You'll be number one on the list.
Let's see, what's my alley? Oh, I wanted to say thank you, a final thank you to Mitch for everything he did, and we're really gonna miss him. And I truly think like I have an image in my mind that I'm flashback to where we're trying to install our double backer years ago in a zone, and how Mitch was able to help translate like what I was trying to say, but put it in like terms that girls were able to actually understand, which was great. And I was like, well, here's what I like, clearly lost in translation. And he's like, no, you guys, it's this. Like, we don't care about this. This is what you're doing. And hearing it from sometimes a different voice or in different terms was immeasurably helpful. So I truly, Mitch, like I can't thank you enough for everything and all of your like your communication skills were unparalleled and talking to the girls and doing all of that and making sure that they knew like what they were able to talk to you in different terms sometimes than what they could say to us or what they could say to me. Or like, here's what she's really trying to say, Susie Lou or Linda Lou, pick a kid. But no, we're really gonna miss that. So I wanted to say thank you, a final thank you. And oh, my alley. Let's see. I really like watching sports stuff and I really like sports and I like bringing stuff from other sports and seeing if it works in lacrosse. Hey, let's try to do, football does scripted plays. Like, let's see if that works. That's hard. Sometimes the girls forget. So
You send me some basketball stuff.
basketball or football or watching like, hey, I'm watching the Redeem Team on Netflix with my 9-year-old Sarah. And all of a sudden, like, she's super into watching quarterbacks. I've seen that 72 times. She just wants to watch how everybody assesses things. And I thought, like, I read Pat Summitt books last year and they were really good. If anybody's a reader, like the Pat Summitt, how she would challenge and make sure she gets these great kids and knows that she loves them and is hard on them and really makes sure that they get the best out of what they want to do. So I really like reading that stuff and trying to figure out like, right, what makes Nick Saban so good? What makes Pat Summitt or like what is Caitlin Clark doing? Like what are her peers doing? Like what is I really like all that. I think it's fun. But anyway, sorry. Mitch, your head.
Redeem Team? We gotta watch that.
It's about the 2008 in like men's Olympic team where they just, I don't know if they got too comfortable in their own shoes or thought they were too cool, got bronze in 2004. And then in Athens, Coach K comes in, and that was a good biography. But he comes in and talks about like, here, okay, you guys are professionals. Like, I know this. This is not, you're not college kids. And Like I truly am just parroting what he just said. So watch it. It was
Yeah,
been
I
entertaining the
love
first 30
like
minutes so far.
sports documentaries.
USA men's basketball. I watched it when you were gone. It was good.
Where was I?
I don't know. It was a
don't ever
while
leave the
ago.
house.
It came out a while ago. I'm sorry.
Well,
This
well,
might
I
What
be
about
watched
Hard Knocks?
fight in your guys' house.
Yeah, well, we love Hard Knocks. Love Hard Knocks. Came out tonight.
Mitch, you're up. We're done cutting you off.
You're fine. After going through all the lists, I don't know. Maybe you guys were trying to talk me into coming back or something, but I don't think my wife would approve of that.
Right.
I don't know. I spend way too much time at a hockey rink, I feel like. So I just made it more since I'm not coaching lacrosse anymore. I'm like the mite director or mite coordinator or whatever for Shakopee. So I'll be on the ice with like M3s and 4s. I'll jump on with the 2s, and Evie's joining the 1. So I'm going to be out there for all levels of mites on top of the high school stuff. So spending even more time there, getting into more meetings with the board and hockey development committees, and kind of diving into that and trying to really hone that in and figure out what's the best way to kind of do that. It's like running like a varsity program with little people.
When you say mites and then you list a bunch of numbers after that, 2, 3, 4, I don't know what that means.
Like 1s is like your beginners, like they're like 5, and then 2s is like your 6-year-olds. 3s and 4s are like your 7 and 8-year-olds before they get into squirts, peewees, banners for boys, and U10s and 12s for girls. Like, so before travel.
Okay.
So
I'm so
Mitch,
sorry.
I'll if you want to get back into lacrosse coaching anytime, if Josie and Sammy, we could assemble with the coaches on this podcast the greatest youth girls lacrosse team. Right now we all coach it and like go everywhere. So if you want to get back in, that offer is open to
A
everyone.
lot of the tournaments only go to like U10. I don't think there's a lot of travel tournaments
We'll
that
play
are
up.
U8.
We're
'cause
gonna
I've looked.
maybe like the Tenacious Turtles of Minnesota girls.
You guys can play up a couple years.
Yeah, you're right. It'll be like 20, are they 36s, 37s, and 38s?
Fours. Well, yeah, Sammy's at 34. I don't know. Josie 35.
I think Josie-
35, 36, 37s.
Yep.
Katie, we came out to Prior Lake. Our little U8 co-ed Shakopee.
Oh yeah. Wait,
Came
were
out
you
to
on
Prior
this?
Lake.
Oh no.
We played
Yeah.
again.
Well, I'm surprised you didn't run into Ted at
No.
like the jamborees for the U8s because I'm U10.
Yeah,
But like you guys had a game. Were we there?
the Prior Lake team was there. Yeah.
Oh. Well,
The boys assistant coach, what's his name? He was kind of running the show there.
Oh, Mark.
Maybe.
He's just our director. He's all
Well,
over the
their
place.
old name from Jefferson was also there. He's got his son is playing, Brian Conley. He was out there.
Oh yeah. We see him all the time.
Yeah. So that was fun to
Yeah.
kind of coach against him and whatnot. But then, yeah, there's the one in Apple Valley that we went to.
Yeah. They're fun. I like the 10s a lot. They're like such a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll hit up our dad because he needs to get out of the house. And I think mite development in Shakopee is a great spot for him. He'll say no, but
For your dad?
yeah.
Yeah, he needs to
I
get
keep
out of the house.
bugging him to do it. I was like, Dad, you gotta do like really little kids. And he's
Yep.
like,
I'd love to have Nick come out. He can come out. He can do our U10s and 12s. He can do some power skating out here with us.
see what I mean? Like he would love it. And he says no, but I'm like, you gotta do something. You're gonna retire. So but anyways.
All right. Before we
Good
lose our
alley,
2
guys.
listeners, we will let you guys go and enjoy the rest of your Tuesday evenings. Thank you each for coming down the alley. Appreciate you guys taking your time and giving us behind the scenes of the 2023 state championship Red Knights.
Thank you.
Woohoo.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
guys.
And
Have a
good
good one.
luck
Yeah.
next year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you to the entire, well, I don't know if that was the entire Benilde St. Margaret's girls staff, but
We
Anna,
won't count them out this year.
no, we're not counting them out. Anna, Cara, and Mitch. I believe I pronounced those names correctly. If
Kara.
I did, Kara. If I didn't, I'm sorry. Yeah, congrats to them on a great 2023 season. And yeah, I think their window is just beginning to be open. Their window's open to go on another run in 2024 and probably beyond, looking at this roster and what they're returning.
Yeah, no, it was a good interview. No surprise they are where they are, as state champs and developing a program that's, like you said, going to be a powerhouse, really knowledgeable staff. And it sounds like they integrate some unique, they do a lot of like traditional great coaching things that you would expect, but they integrate other things that meet their players, where they're at. And, again, that's the art form of coaching, the secret sauce of, how to utilize different skill sets and different people on your staff. And it sounded like they do a really good job of that.
Yeah, they have their unique sauce, their unique culture, and combine that with how long have they been there?
Yeah, I didn't realize they'd been there so long.
Like
12 years.
That low turnover, having that
Well,
consistency.
No, since 2012. How many years is that?
10 years, 11 years, 12 years, whatever. I can't count. I should be able to, but that the head coach has been there, 12 years, 11 years.
Yeah.
And
Honestly, if Mitch doesn't leave, we can take full credit for that. We got the
do
band
you
back
think
together.
he's gonna stay now after this
No,
pod?
but
After
if he
getting the
doesn't,
tire pump? They were pumping his
we will
tires.
take full credit for getting the band back together.
Maybe one last dance with Mitch.
Yeah, right. He can't possibly step away now that he was on a podcast together.
Yeah, no, it's funny because I told him this after they won it. I obviously sent him a text, congratulated. I'm like, I'm the guy that grew up playing lacrosse. You kind of dabbled in it. You have 2 rings. I have 0. So now I have to probably coach until I'm 90 to get my 2. So I hope that he retires just so that I don't fall farther behind, state championships. I'm gonna have to coach for a long time to catch up to him.
Yeah, give us a chance to catch up at least. But no, I gave him a little crap about that, but it's all in good fun. Looking ahead for Down the Alley, October 1st, the second annual Down the Alley Fall Classic. We've got teams signing up, getting registered and confirmed. A couple of spots open still, right? Maybe a spot open on the boys and girls side left.
We have 1 spot on the boys and girls.
Okay, so there's still room. If you have a team, if you have a squad that wants to play in the Down the Alley Fall Classic, October 1st, Rosemount. We're open definitely for club teams. If you have a high school squad though that wants to come down and play, we had a couple of those, 1 or 2 of those last year, and it worked out great. So Down the Alley Fall Classic, second annual, October 1st in Rosemount. We're looking forward to it. Can't wait. 36 years starting up with fall ball. Can't wait to get back on the field. 2 podcasts in, a coaches meeting in. I'm starting to get the itch again. I'm sorry. I enjoyed August. It's September 5th now. All right, we can start fall ball. I'm ready to go. It's gonna cool down tomorrow. We got through this heat. I think we can get back on the field. I think I'm ready.
A little teaser for, it sounds like we have confirmation of a return guest coming on the podcast next week.
Are we gonna tease next week's guest?
I'm not gonna say who it is, but it is somebody who's been on before. They're coming back on. So we do have another guest lined up, which it's been great to get guests. I think that makes this show more interesting than us talking when we get to hear from Minnesota lacrosse community. So we are excited about that. But I think the first order of business was getting the state champions on the podcast for their time, their moment in the sun. And it's something we've talked about for a couple years, trying to do that. And I don't think we've actually done it. And finally this year we were able to get the boys and the girls, the champs, to come on and talk about their seasons. And so I'm happy we were able to lock that in first, and hopefully now we get some more guests lined up along the way. So
Yeah, no, awesome to get the champs on.
I feel like they get like a permanent little like seat in the corner. Like we should have like, you know what I mean? Like they get like their little king and queen throne to be like contributors as much as they want. So this is their official invitation to be you get a reigning contribution the year you win to put in your 2 cents as the throned king and queen stabs of the year.
Oh, 100%. You win the state championship. You and your staff, captains, whatever.
You want.
You can come on down
Chime
the
in.
alley and
Chime in on a rant. You got a rant, chime in. If you got something to say, chime in.
champs, you control the media, right?
Yep.
yeah, you get to manipulate the media however you want. This guest though, again, not to discount the champs we just had on, but this guest next week, I've heard some rumors. Is this gonna maybe solidify the rumor mill that's been on the Discord? That's in the deep dark webs. Is that what you're teasing, Ted?
I don't know. All I know is we have a guest lined up, and I'm excited to have that guest back on.
All right. Well, no further leaks. You're gonna have to tune in next week. Excited to have this guest on, I guess. And again, thank you for coming down the alley with us this week. Thanks for the Benilde St. Margaret staff for coming down the alley, and congrats on your championship. And it sounds like we'll be back next week.